Ordered. The amendments to the gentleman from California is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk. It's amendment number 7.
Amendment number 7. The amendment will be considered as read. Oh, clerk, first the clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment to H.R. 2279 offered by Mr. Waxman of California.
Now the amendment will be considered as read. Staff will distribute the amendment, and the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes in support of his amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I think that what the clerk reported was amendment number 6, because that's what it says on amendment number 6. I'm just kidding. Now to get back to serious work, Mr. Chairman, with this lame joke of mine.
What's lame?
Mr. Chairman and my colleagues, we don't have a compelling legislative record that explains why we are considering this legislation. And except for a vague letter from the Environmental Council of the States saying they support some unspecified concepts in some of the bills we're considering today, no organization has expressed any support for this legislation. It also isn't clear why these legislative changes have been grouped together. The RCRA amendment in Section 2 of the bill is unrelated to the Superfund amendments in Section 3 and 4 of the bill. So the amendment I'm offering is also unrelated to the provisions in this bill. However, it is a germane amendment, and it's an important one. My amendment would address the type of terrible tragedy that occurred a little over 2 months ago in the tight-knit community of West Texas. On April 17, 2013, the West Fertilizer Company's storage and distribution facility exploded. In a small community of 2,600 people, nearly 200 were injured and 15 killed. The nearby nursing home, a school, and several hundred houses were badly damaged. Assistant State Fire Marshal Kelly Kistner described the explosion and its aftermath as one of, if not the worst, disaster they have seen in the state of Texas. Texas Department of Safety spokesman D.L. Wilson noted that an apartment complex after the explosion was, quote, just a skeleton standing up, end quote. The chemical that caused the explosion was ammonium nitrate. This fertilizer is the same substance that was used in the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. Although this chemical may be safe when stored and used correctly, its risks are known. It is clear, after what happened in West, that information about dangerous chemicals is not being communicated the way it needs to be. 12 first responders and volunteer firefighters died in that explosion. We need to do more to inform and prepare local communities about risks in their communities. So my amendment would ensure that facilities holding dangerous amounts of explosive chemicals are informing their state emergency planning officials of the risks they pose and doing so as soon as possible. It requires owners or operators of facilities with flammable or explosive chemicals in quantities of concern to provide information on those chemicals to the State Emergency Response Commission within 180 days. Local fire departments should have this information to prepare for accidents and disaster. Local planners should have this information so that schools and nursing homes are not built in harm's way. This tragedy brought to light serious risks faced by communities nationwide. It's our responsibility to begin to address those risks, and I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting this amendment to better protect communities. And I
Will the gentleman yield?
be happy to yield to the chair.
We're prepared to accept the amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to accept your acceptance of this amendment. And I thank you so much. I should have offered this amendment as a bipartisan amendment.
Could have.
But since I hope it will now have bipartisan support, I hope our colleagues on both sides of the aisle will follow your leadership and mine in urging an aye vote.
Okay. Gentleman yields back.
Yes.
Gentleman, Chair would recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Barton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also support the amendment. The facility that Chairman Waxman referred to is not in my district. It's about 20 miles from my district, but the explosion was heard and felt at my home in Ennis, Texas, which is 50 miles away. That's how destructive it was. I think this amendment is useful, but I would say as the investigation has proceeded at West, it's apparent that the operator of the facility was not in compliance with numerous local, state, and federal laws, and that all the regulatory bodies, federal, state, and local, were in some sense, if not negligent, at least neglectful in monitoring that particular facility. Nothing we do here in Washington can prevent these types of accidents if those that own the facilities and those that oversee the facilities are not observant of existing regulations and do the best that they can to try to monitor and comply with it. So I think this is a good amendment, but what happened in West is a wake-up call that everybody needs to be more diligent. That particular facility had been in the community for 20, 25 years, and the nursing home and the school had been built near that facility after the facility itself was built. With that, I support the amendment and yield back.
Chairman yields back. Other members wishing to speak on the amendment?
Chairman.
Gentlelady from California, Ms. Eshoo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I think that this is good news that this will be bipartisan because I think it is important that it is. After the explosion in West Texas, it became clear that the regulatory process we have in place for chemical security is really in need of reform. And the amendment addresses the one weakness in that system. Because it ensures that that information about dangerous chemicals and the holding of these dangerous chemicals gets to emergency planning officials and gets to them soon. You know, that information was never provided to the department. So I appreciate what Mr. Barton said, but whether they went to inspect the facility and didn't is a failure, but to just simply report what their holdings are so that first responders know, and in this case, the ammonium, 2,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate, well, we saw what happened. So I support it. I hope that this is truly bipartisan because I think that it's needed, and with that, I'll yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair would recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hall.
Mr. Chairman, I've always had the highest regard for Mr. Waxman. His words have always been good to me, and I'm really pleased to be here today on the very first time I've been able to support one of his amendments. I do yield back.
I was ready to hit the mute button. Okay, seeing no other member wishing to speak, the vote occurs on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. Waxman. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. If you need to chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Other